Okay, going.
Yep. All right. That commercial break was thanks to my 3-year-old son. So we're talking about how this part of our body can affect the way people read your emotional state. So people who tend to hunch over from the center of their body and still put on this mask that everything is okay, you can feel that things are not necessarily so good. They can be walking around the world thinking, yeah, what's wrong? Oh, I'm fine. But they're not fine. And it's been shown, all this, it's an unconscious effort to cover your vital organs. And it all comes down to cavemen. Everything comes down to cavemen. You are worried, you're emotionally concerned, and there's a negative feeling of stress which is making you want to protect your vital organs. Now, if the opposite was different and the stress was lifted, you would do the opposite gesture. This part of your body would be pushed forwards. And I can still have a low gesture here, but still be very emotional. Now, it doesn't have to be a positive emotion, but this is an energized emotion. It could be anger. I could be really angry with you, but I'm doing that and I'm popping out my emotional center. I'm not intellectually engaging with you. I am emotionally reacting to what you're saying. So this part of my body where my emotions are coming out are telling a message to the rest of the world that I am not okay. This is, or if I was really happy as well, that would be carried on a positive emotion. So it doesn't mean it is a negative emotion. It's almost like the volume of the emotion. As the volume of the emotion goes down, and depression is, clinically referred to in biology terms as a lowering of cell signaling. So when you have one cell communicating to another cell, if the cell signaling speed is lowered, that's called a depressed interaction. And when you multiply that over the entire organism, a depressed entity is an entity where the cells are not communicating as fast. Everything is slower and the feeling is not nice. Because another thing that doesn't get distributed in the body is dopamine. It's all the other happy chemicals, endorphins, that make you feel happy are not flowing in your body. And so you feel like shit. It's a really awful feeling. Feeling sad is a depression, and a depression is a cellular deprivation of the messages that normally stand between a happy, manic person has these cells just popping all the time. And so, I had a friend who was manic depressive, and every time I saw her, it would be a different person. She would be like, oh, she said, what happened? She says, I just ran for 27 kilometers. Okay, yeah, but you look like you're about to die. Says, no, let's go out and have coffee, let's go and have lunch. And she'd be kind of boom, 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 boom. Everything would be pumping at 1,000,000 miles an hour on a physiological level. Each one of the little cells in her body were just sending messages at 1,000,000 trillion miles an hour. And that comes out in the posture. The posture is full of energy. Everything is full of energy. And you're emotional, nothing is stressing. All the stress is gone. Everything is happy. And the opposite happened when she's depressed. I'd find her, everything would be, all the windows were shut, everything is dark, everything is miserable, and she would be hunched into herself. And it's just uncanny how, and I'm not going to say this applies to absolutely everyone. This is my experience in my own life. And I'm not trying to make a scientific deduction that is, it now applies to all people, but it's a fairly common trait. You can tell that someone is either feeling good or bad by how they use this part of their body. Now comes the fun one. Survival. Survival is about reproduction, and reproduction is something that you get by, I'll probably get this censored, by opening your legs. You open your legs and the reproduction becomes possible because all the stuff happens down there. But another thing happens when you are opening your legs. You can run. You can run away from a foe. You can attack someone as well. So anyone who is very much into the reproduction and killing business is going to have that part of their body opened and ready for action. They're going to have the cowboys, like, you've seen his posture? Okay, corral. They don't sit there and say, all right, what have you got? I'll show you my gun. They say, right, let's do this. I'm exaggerating, but this is the posture. We're getting the body with the hips really at the forefront. And not just the hips, the legs are separated. Yeah? That's a fairly familiar one. Let's get the opposite. This is the Poirot one. The person who really says no sex please, we're British, and they will walk like this. And this is the person whose sexual and defensive, physical, there's no way Poirot would ever get into a fist fight. I've seen some situations where he was actually threatened by someone. He just sits there and watches them, and he tries to defeat them with his brain. He never, ever engages in physical aggression with anyone. That's why they had to have all the other actors to do all the punching and fighting, because as a character, he can only empower himself with his head, and his body walks together, clasping. Everything about his limbic expression is all squeezed in, and he's not letting it out. And you'll see that with, so there's the two extremes, the high status, angry, limbic, ready to go person. That's all things on full throttle. Then you get the other one. You get the, I don't like my sexuality, I'm depressed, and I'm a low status person. You see how that changes? It's massive, isn't it? We do that all the time. We're unconscious of the way we talk and send messages to the rest of the world. But that is what body language is largely about. So can we stop that one?